Ana Caramujo, everybody. How are you?
Good morning, Carl. You're in a good mood today. You're
Oh,
usually in a good mood.
well, yeah, it's true. I do my best to be in a good mood, but I think I have turned it up to 11 this morning, perhaps. On the joyometer. How are you? Are you feeling in much the same way? How is it where you are?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I do have a few news, but since I came in a bit early, I was listening to the finish of your article, and
Yeah.
I found it really interesting because one of the things that I always, and it's always also in our guide, we have this Move to Portugal workbook that you're able to download in our website. And the first step is start with the why.
Yeah.
Is why are you coming? What are you looking to change? What lifestyle do you want? That's the most important part, because like you were saying, the mindset makes so much difference. And
Yeah.
if you come, because you said that some people are running for something,
Mm.
and in many cases their mindset may be the problem, but there are instances where it's also pretty valid to look for that escape and look for safety and so on, and things can improve in Portugal. But it's very important to understand the why, the changes you want to make, and set a roadmap to achieving that.
Yeah, well said, well said. And I mean, I finished that article. I mean, it was Wayne Dyer who was talking about. I think he was talking about the area he lived in, and some people had come up to him because they'd seen him on TV, and he told that story, and it really hit me. You know, people's expectations often determine the quality of their life. And it's not only that, of course, there are other things, and it's all about balance. You know, there's no hard and fast rule on it. But I think it's an interesting point that he makes, and I span it out, in a Portuguese angle there. And I finished the article with, as well as asking, is Portugal right for me? It's worth asking, am I right for Portugal? What can I bring? What will I contribute? What context am I setting up for myself? And who am I being here? Which I think is very important as well. I think that's what you're saying too.
Yes, because no one's life will magically get better just because they move to another country. Usually, actually, the whole process of moving is a major headache. So
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
really have to have the right mindset to achieve a positive change on that process.
Yeah, well said, well said. And yeah, there'll be ups and downs, and the core. I guess we're talking about core values, aren't we? And core
Mhm.
perspective. What you fall back on when you are experiencing the turbulence and the ups and downs externally. How are you resourced internally seems to be important. That's what I've learned. It's taken a
Yeah.
long time, but that's what
Mhm.
I've learned. Places are different though, says Pam. Otherwise, there'd be no point in moving. Absolutely, and us human beings, we love to try different experiences, don't we? So absolutely agree with you there. Paul, greetings from a sunny Algarve. Met Leslie and Ian yesterday and showed them some little secret places on the Western Algarve. Oh, special treatment. They were suitably impressed. We kept the walking to a minimum. Toast is so understood in it. Now, toast, we need to talk about this morning, Anna. It's called Tada, and it's not just toast here in Portugal. Toast is so underrated. I do love my toast butter and jam each morning, always with a cuppa and a glass of milk, sometimes with a soft boiled egg. Now, I've had a conversation, somewhat controversial conversations with people about the difference between toast and torrada. Portuguese people take it to a new level, do they not?
Yeah. Yes, usually torrada is a very specific kind of toast, usually the tall one made out of, we call it pão de forma, so
Yes, pão de
the
forma.
square one. And it has to be tall and fluffy, and it has to, usually the full torrada is 2 layers, but you can ask for half torrada that is just 1 layer. But nowadays you also get torradas with traditional bread instead. So with usually the long slices like this, cut in pieces like
Yes.
huge big slices.
Mm.
But yes, we are in the me particularly. I absolutely hate it when in coffee shops they put margarine instead of butter. That's
Oh,
not good for
that should
torrada.
be against the law. That should actually be against the law. Now, that's what you didn't mention there. To my delight, I have to say, when I ordered torrada for the first time here in Portugal, first of all, it comes and it looks like you're playing Jenga, because the the Jenga game with wooden blocks. I mean, it's Jenga made out of bread first and foremost from the pau de forma, And then I think they may have used a half a carton of butter. Each of those Jenga sticks is soaked with, ideally with butter, and as Anna says, they're not with margarine. That should not be allowed. It's absolutely dripping with butter. And then when I'm eating one of those with my kids, it is like Jenga because everyone's reaching.
And usually the kids always want the middle one.
Exactly. You read my mind. You know exactly what's going on here. Maybe you did that with your parents, and we call it the middle finger because that is literally what it is. Although that takes you into different territory, but that middle slice, because it's cut into thirds, isn't it? Like a Jenga block. That middle slice soaked with butter is just out of this world. So you cannot call it toast. It is Portuguese Tada. And with your boiled egg, that will be amazing. I think you need like an ostrich egg or something like that to dip, or a goose egg to dip those Torada fingers into. So yes, thank you for that opportunity to mention that. And we're talking about the cost of living this morning. It's a very good value breakfast, is it not?
Yes, it is. That's the I don't know. Actually, I haven't asked it for a while, but usually they cost like 2-3 euros, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I've bought it cheaper than that. I mean, and with a cup of coffee, it's a great breakfast to have. Yeah, there you go. I'll take your toast and raise it to a torrada. It buttered both sides, and somehow, Pam, it's buttered on the inside as well. It's dripping with butter. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So, cost of living. Then this has been a theme for you. Is that led by sort of client and public demand? People want to know how it's changing.
Yes, very much, because the cost of living is rising everywhere, and Portugal is not an exception. And there are cities where we can no longer say that Portugal is affordable, and Lisbon is a great example of that. And although Lisbon is in high demand right now, the prices in Lisbon, the living prices at least, are often higher than in other capitals of Europe at the moment. Not all of them, of course.
Yeah.
And it's very unsustainable for locals. And the truth is, it's mainly the cost of living, because that's the cost of housing, because that's of course one of the main things about moving or even living anywhere, right? It's how much will you be spending monthly. And to be honest, from a Portuguese perspective, I think you can live fairly well with an income of 700 euros without counting the housing expenses. So if you have 700 euros plus the housing expenses, or you don't have housing expenses, you won't be living luxury, but you will be living comfortably here in Portugal. And of course, the more margin you have and the more extra income you have, you can get a very, very comfortable life. The problem is housing, and housing can be a very different expense in different locations. Like in Lisbon, it's unrealistic to consider spending less than 1,000 euros on housing, and even that is already a positive perspective, because for a 2-bedroom, they are often on the 2,000 to 3,000 range. And for me as a Portuguese, that's absolutely shocking. Like, I don't make money for that. And I understand, and I usually say Lisbon is no longer affordable. It's not like, it's still a nice city to live in. You have a lot of amenities, a lot of culture, you can walk everywhere. It's a bustling city with a lot of activities and concerts and everything happening, but it's not cheap.
That's right. Things have changed, haven't they? Things really have changed in these last 3 or 4 years. Post-COVID, I guess, post-pandemic period, things have changed. However, you can be canny and savvy. Last month, we renewed our 3-year lease in Lisbon for less than we're paying 3 years ago. Sounds like you need Thunder Duck
that's
on the
amazing.
team. Yeah, you need
definitely an exception.
We need to bring T-Duck into the Savvy Cat negotiating team, possibly there. We're doing deals like that. I think that's an interesting angle you've taken on that, to create a separate living costs to housing costs, because all human beings have more or less the same sort of needs after their house, don't they? So you've bundled it up, and your claim there, and people can watch the video for themselves later on. I've put the link to it. Is around 700. You can still live a comfortable life. That's your living costs after your housing costs.
Yes, because the housing costs, like I said, if you're living in Lisbon, it can be 3 times that.
Yes.
But for example, if you go to a more affordable city, let's say, I don't know, Braga, Chaves, Castelo Branco, even Coimbra and Aveiro, that are probably on the intermediate level right now, you will have much lower costs. Like in places like Chaves, it's possible to get a rental for 600 euros, and it wouldn't be shocking.
Mm.
Whether in Coimbra, maybe 1,000, 1,500 will get you a really nice 2, maybe even 3 bedroom. But
Mm.
um, once again, that will be your main costs. And
Yes.
then if you're looking to buy, then that's a whole other thing, because if you have the capacity to buy cash and not ask for a loan, then that's a great option in all senses, because real estate, even though the fluctuations on the market and generally the tendency has been for it to rise slower or faster, it's not been devaluing anytime soon. Even when we had the great crisis, it lasted for like 8 months, a year, and then it started spiking even faster.
Mm.
So if you look like at a 10-year period, let's say you buy a house for 250,000, if you live in it, you are saving a lot of money on rent. If you're renting, you're getting income for that. And if you then 10 years later, you will be almost guaranteed to sell it for like 300,000. So it is a safe way of gaining equity,
Yep,
pretty
very
much.
good. Okay, James agrees. Spot on, says James. Spot on, Anna. I've been living on roughly 700 euros per month in addition to my rent, and quite slash more than comfortably. I've not seen it pitched like that. I mean, that's a great advertisement for life in Portugal, isn't it? And on the one hand, while the clickbaity videos are saying it's becoming too expensive, don't come here, it's too expensive. Breaking it down in
The
that way is
housing,
very good.
yeah, the housing is getting quite expensive, especially if you rent, and especially on big cities.
Yeah, yeah. Pete has been noticing more bank repossessions coming up in Lisbon on Idealista, and prices are definitely going down. I see that too. So this conversation runs and runs, doesn't it? Whether it's booming or busting, lots of people have different views on that depending on the data that they're collecting. And I see all sorts of views on YouTube, of course, where you would expect to, because people are vying for your attention there. Bon dia todos from Owen as well. So those areas, it's very interesting what you say there. You could go to Chaves, and I would say if you were paying 600, 700 for rent, and you had 700 for your other living costs, that 700 might go a bit further, because you don't have the same temptations, do you, as you would if you were living in
And
Lisbon?
generally, although the difference isn't as drastic, even restaurants and services in general tend to be cheaper on those locations because
Yeah.
the rent is cheaper.
Yes, yeah, just a lower cost of living generally. But I do like how you've done this, and presumably that video is going down well around the world.
Yes, I actually haven't looked at the statistics yet, but I think it's going down well. And we have that Moving to Portugal webinar where we'll be going over a bit of all the topics of moving to Portugal, including cost of life. And we already have 65 people signed up for it.
Well done.
So we'll probably have a limit of 100, and I'm curious to see if we'll reach it. So
Very good. Okay, now, well, we'll make sure people have got the details for that.
it's on the 7th, so it's only a few days from now.
That'll be
For
next week,
6 days. Yeah.
for and people. If I put the website, your website address into the chat, people
Yes,
can
yes,
find
and
that.
it's the same. You should have the link on your WhatsApp, because it's the same one I've talked about last session.
Very good. Okay, I'll make sure people have that link specifically as well. Then, so what else has been going on since I last saw you? Have you found new places? I mean, I'm always very interested in that. New places in Portugal that people might consider. Have other things come up on the radar that you're prepared to share with us?
I think one of the reasons I started this company was exactly to help people see Portugal for more than Porto, Lisbon, and the Algarve, and see that in a lot of cases they will be well in other cities that they don't know. Because if you are coming from a different country, we cannot expect you to know everywhere. Like most people, Portuguese people don't know everywhere. A lot of Portuguese people don't
True.
really get out of their own city. But there's people like me who like to go everywhere, and we are able to help you find the right location for your needs. And these needs, they can vary drastically. I mean, if you want to live in a big property overlooking the mountain, is very different if you want to live without a car and walk everywhere. And it's very different if you want to have a farm or live in the suburbs where you are not in the middle in the city but still able to go. And once again, it's very different depending on the budgets people have.
Yeah.
And all of this needs to be custom to the person's needs. And I think a big part of what we do is exactly trying to match people with the places that we think will be good for them.
Yes.
And showing that, Portugal is not just Porto, Lisbon, and the Algarve.
Well, you still haven't given me any names there, but it is true what you say. I mean, when we were filming in Tamar, Bobby came with Pedro, and he'd not been to Tamar, and he's not the only Portuguese person I've known who I've met in Tamar. And this is a great city, isn't it? And they say, I haven't been here before. I think, what? You're Portuguese and you haven't been to Tamar. It's true, isn't it?
There's a lot of people who haven't. Yeah,
it's incredible. And not just Tamar.
It's the Templar city.
Yeah, a lot of people just don't go far beyond their, they may go out of the country because, Portuguese people are well known for traveling around the world, but they may not know Portugal that well themselves. They'll know the name, but they might not have been there. And it's such a shock to me that actually a lot of foreigners now seem to be getting to know Portugal better than the Portuguese themselves.
Yeah.
So have you got any towns or cities, specifically names that we might put on the radar for people?
Once again, I said what I said because it's very different depending on what the people are looking for. So, like I said, if you are looking for a mountain landscape with a lot of greenery and water, streams and waterfalls and so on, North is the most gorgeous forest area with the Jerez area. It's just absolutely beautiful. And it's also very affordable. So it's a win-win. And then if you are looking to live in a place, I have a lot of I think one of the most common requests is to be within 30 minutes to an hour of a main city. Yes. And usually that gives a good balance of accessibility to amenities and peace and quiet. So this depends a lot. But for example, in the north, towns like Vila Nova de Famalicão and Amarante can be very interesting because they are growing right now and they are very affordable and they are quite close to to Porto. And even Braga, Vila Nova de Famalicão is kind of in the middle. And then if you want to have public transport but not be in the city, you can go either to the Vila do Conde area where you still... Vila do Conde doesn't exactly get the metro there, but it goes to Povo do Varzim. And then you also have a train line that goes down from Porto to Aveiro. Yep. And it goes through a number of locations like Miramar and Espinho and so on. Yep. It can be very nice areas to live in. And then you have this easy access to both Porto and Aveiro.
Yep.
So this area can give a lot of quality of life. And then if you go further down, I would say that Caldas da Rainha is very popular. And it's a very attractive kind of artistic town, and it's about 1 hour drive from Lisbon. And then you also have, Setúbal is definitely growing in popularity drastically in the past few years. But if you want to be further away, there's places like Grândola, although there is not a lot of offer there. When it comes to real estate, it's a much more quiet Alentejo-light location. And then, I don't know, then you can go back, I think down in Algarve, you have places like Tavira and Faro. Faro is officially the capital, but it's not too overpriced, like locations like Albufeira and Lagos are way more expensive than Faro, but you can exactly say that Faro is cheap. Overall, the Algarve, I don't think it's cheap anywhere in the Algarve.
No,
Like,
this is what we're
maybe you
finding.
will find some more affordable things more towards the interior, but along the coastline, nothing is cheap.
Wow. Well, okay. Well, thank you for that roundup. Pam's adding to that. This is a great tip. This has come up a couple of times actually in the last week or so. I think Porto de Mos is a great location for people who like the countryside. Good sized town. It's a lovely town on the edge of a national park. It's got a great castle as well, within 30 minutes of the beach and Leria. Great prices too. So thank you. That's a lovely tip there. Thank you very much indeed for that, and thank you for your scan around the country there. I find it so exciting that these other places are coming onto the map now and getting into sort of a wider consciousness of people. Amarante is a beautiful place as well, isn't it, that you mentioned, underestimated. That wonderful railway line connection is, I think it's even a metro connection, isn't it, from places like Povoa de Varzim into Porto, and Miranda de Cova, of course. Yeah, Miranda de Cova comes up quite a lot because of Filomena and because of some of the Gumpers who live there. And that tram line, they're replacing the tram, I think, after 30 years of taking it out, and it's taken a long time to do so. But it's like a tram bus hybrid thing. It's not on tracks. It's a bus that is connecting Coimbra to central Portugal. So that's quite a good tip as well, isn't it? Living along there as well. Fantastic. So thank you for that roundup. Anything else you want to share with us this morning? Because I'd like you to stick around and look at a few events with us, if you will, as well.
I actually do. So exciting news. I am going to America on the 25th of June. Cool. And I will be staying there for about 6 months and setting up shop, kind of.
What? This is amazing news. Okay. 6 months in the United States.
Yes. So there is a number of things I want to achieve with it. Since my concept of business is pretty much to start working with people before they are in Portugal, it makes a lot of sense to go there and start talking to them before they actually make the move. So that's one of them. The other one is that, of course, one of my major client group has been Americans, probably about 70% of my clients. And I'm also going to start a series of the reverse cultural shocks. So pretty much, what are the things that I'm feeling when and noticing and getting shocked by when I am living in America? And I'm guessing there's going to be quite a few of them. But for starts, I've been starting my living arrangement, and I'm very traumatized because I'm going to California. So
this is amazing news. I had no idea about this. I had no idea about this. So you're going to go and live in California, and you're going to be selling Portugal inside the United States.
Yes, I'm going to be based in San Francisco because I had an amazing client / investor that made available housing for me, which makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
And the idea is to be making events and clarification sessions in a number of towns on the East Coast.
How amazing. On the East Coast or the West Coast?
Yes.
On the East Coast, right, okay.
On the California side, it's East Coast, right?
West Coast.
It's West Coast? Okay.
Yes. Coast. Yeah. Okay. Well, no, because you'd have a lot of traveling to do if you were going to be in San Francisco and you were doing East Coast business.
Yeah, no.
Who knows? You might end up doing that anyway. I understand, because I often get East and West Coast mixed up in Portugal, but that's because this is Este, which sounds like East, doesn't it? So that's confusing for me.
It's probably the same problem for me, but I'm terrible with that kind of thing. Like North and South, it's fine, but East and West, it just mumbles my brain.
Yeah, well, good luck to you, because that sounds amazing, Savikat Ana. What a lovely development.
Just before I go, I will be also creating a series of content here in Portugal, and I will be doing the N2 road, starting from Chaves to Faro. And I'm going to start that on the 20th of May, and I will be, posting live updates on Instagram. So feel free to follow us there. It's Savikat Realty on Instagram. And then I will be posting, longer videos on YouTube after the fact. But overall, I'll be making a bunch of content about Portugal before I leave Portugal.
That's amazing. So do please include us on your mailing list, and hopefully you'll be able to connect with us still whilst you're in the United States, because that'll be amazing to have you talking about America as well as talking about Portugal to Americans. So I hope we can do that. Shout out
Yeah,
for
because
California.
I think it will be very much a first-hand experience or of what it's like to live in one country and the other.
Fantastic. Shout out for the Californians and San Francisco Bay Area. Cost of living will definitely be a cultural shock. It's one of the most expensive places to live.
I've already noticed that.
Yep, a savvy cat, Anna. That sounds amazing. Have a wonderful time and enjoy every minute. Be sure to go to Santa Cruz, California. It's beautiful, says James. I mean, we've got lots of friends here. I can give you lots of tips, I'm sure. Sorry for the typos. Hate texting on the phone. What you said was, Barak, is Hola, bon dia. If you want mountains, green, and amazing area, you don't have to go north. The center is fabulous. Just my humble opinion from Lord Travansa.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I forgot to mention, the Luso and the for the other side of Coimbra, how it's called the oh God, I'm having a
Serra de Lausanne.
Lausanne. Yes, the Luso and Lausanne area are also really nice mountains. But personally, I still find the Jerez more beautiful.
Okay, no, I agree. I agree. We've got a few more. Are you all right for a few more minutes to look at a few events? Because you might have a savvy cat view on them. We are also looking inside Pete's polytunnel. Look at this. He's been in the potting shed. And he's got a few seedlings on the go. Thanks, Pete, for these. And thank you, Owen, for your lovely picture of a sunset, which I think is appropriate to finish with today on this day when we've talked about the cost of living and the joy of life here in Portugal. Let's have a look at some of Bairandi's events that are going on this weekend. Of course, a few of the Gumpers meeting up at the Aveiro Craft Beer Festival. So have a great time there, you folks. Free festival in Cavalo do Lobo in Bairrada. That looks like fun. Toy is going to be playing, one of my favorite Portuguese artists. He's a legend. Toy will be there. We've also got the 14th Saberes e Sabores Fair. What's the difference between a Saberes and a Sabores, Anna?
Saberes is knowledge and Sabores is
flavors,
right?
Yes. Info and flavors. What a fantastic combination.
Bringing together
gastronomy, handicrafts, and cultural activities in an environment of sharing and conviviality, set in the beautiful hidden gem park of Alta Villa Bella Vista. That sounds wonderful. Well spotted there, Andy. Also, the lunch party or lunch and ride out from Cavoisin de Bairrada for those moped owners who might like to have a little ride around the Bairrada region. I'm sure that's a lot of fun if you've got a moped. And the Festa of Povoa de Forno. In Bairrada, Povoa de Forno put on a great festivals, and this five-nighter will be no exception. Plenty of great local bands, food and booze. Bairrada do this so well. Popping across the country to Alcanes and the Moonspell band that we talked about before.
That's an interesting combination, cheese and Moonspell.
Well, we mentioned this earlier on, and Moonspell might sour the goat cheese with their blend of death metal and particular view on life. So you know about Moonspell, do you?
Yes, I do.
Yes. And I was thinking that, there'd be families at the cheese festival, grandma, granddad, mum and dad, the kids, priests, nuns, and then suddenly Moonspell come on. How do you think that's going to work?
I think it's an interesting choice, for the cheese festival with Moonspell. And Moonspell is curiously a band that it's more renowned internationally than inside Portugal. It's kind of it's very popular, especially in Germany. And yes, as someone that enjoys metal, I do know them.
Okay, so you can see Moonspell in Alcanes. Funnily enough, at a cheese
festival. Going to be pouring though, so that's not going to be fun.
No, I can just hear the sound of death metal and the feeling of being drenched by Portuguese rain and the smell of cheese. That's going to be quite the event tomorrow. On Monday evening, we are doing a wine. Bring a wine along that best represents you. Are you full-bodied? Are you aged and sour? Are you dense and complex, tight and juicy, or sexy and sparkling? Bring along a wine and share it with us. Drink it on screen. Tell us about it. A wine that best reflects you. And of course, I don't want to embarrass anyone here, but tomorrow is World Naked Gardening Day. I am flying the flag for Portugal. My video, which I'm really angry with YouTube. Well, not angry, but I'm a little bit resentful. They're marking down anything with the word naked in it. And I can't think of anything more wholesome and beautiful than people gardening naked. Do you think that's going to be a big thing, as it were, here in Portugal? Will the Portuguese people approve of Naked Gardening Day?
I personally see naked gardening as a very impractical thing.
Yeah,
the plants have a lot of spikes. Like,
it's true. It's true. Aloe vera, you need to stay away
so
from the
nice.
you need to stay away from the cactus plants, definitely, and the nettles. But yeah, I get your point. I get your point. So maybe the Practical Portuguese will be eschewing such an event. It gets my full support, and my video short will be published at midnight tonight ahead of the event. Although I am expecting censorship from the Google Corporation. Savika Anna, lovely to hear your news. Absolutely wonderful news, and I hope you'll keep in touch with us. When do you leave? When do you leave? Do we know yet?
Yeah, that's the thing. We actually have to talk about this morning sessions because I will be on the whole other time zone, and 9 a.m. is like the middle of the night there. But yeah.
It's just midnight or 1 o'clock. You'll be partying. Come back from a club and then talk to us. That'll be fine. I hope you can. And if not that, then if you could record us a video, I'd love that, because we are so interested, I'm sure, to hear about your experience.
Yeah, I think if it's like midnight, I'm fine with it. I'm
Excellent.
very much night owl.
Excellent. All right. And we're so interested to hear about your reverse culture shock. I think it's such a good idea. Find out more as that unfolds at Savvy Cat Realty and the webinar for next week as well. A couple of closing comments then before everyone goes off to enjoy their weekend. You've got Redwood and the beach where you're going there. It's the Ericeira of Portugal, apparently. Toy's busy at the moment. It played at Ledia the other night. This is when Portuguese artists are very busy. This is the time of year they look forward to. That photo of Moonspell looks very respectable and conventional, not what a picture of a death metal band might look like. Portugal, 8 hours
death metal though, but okay.
Look, it's 8 hours ahead. So, or we are 8 hours ahead of you. So it would be, if you joined us at 9 in the morning, it'd be 1 o'clock in the morning for you. I don't know if you can make an exception. No video. My eyes cannot take it. Yes, Owen, it's happening, mate. Unsubscribe. Irish gardeners could enjoy the crack when naked going, oh, honestly, Doug, what are you like? And my grass is too tall and the rose bush a bit thorny to be around naked. But a good idea nonetheless. We're getting a little bit of approval from Lord Travansa. And I think we had oh yeah, just one more comment about the pants that were on fire. That's a good reason to be naked again. Our ginormous 67 Chevrolet Impala had a completely black vinyl interior, which when left in a car park for an hour or so would become a literal freaking oven. Those days are behind us now. We've got nice upholstery, haven't we? And air conditioning and such memories are consigned only to certain campers of a certain age. Thanks, John, for that. Thank you, everybody, for a fun morning. And thank you especially, Savika Anna, for your insight, as ever. A bon voyage, bon voyage, et bon fin de semana. Cheers, Anna, and bye for now.
Thanks, Manny.
Cheers, see ya. Thank you for being here this morning.